Hi, Joy. I'm very, very happy to have you here. I'm very excited, and I can already tell the LA sun is like booming on you, and it's so nice to see you. Very happy to have you, and we have a wonderful conversation going to happen. And I just want to jump right in. And the first thing that I want to ask you is, what is one life experience that shaped who you are today? Because we know what you stand for. We know that you're very into, leading with joy, which is your whole consultancy. And I'm interested in knowing what is that one life experience that shaped who you are today? When did you
Yeah.
start, caring about putting people first?
When did I start caring about putting people first? I mean, I think that leads back to my experience with children.
Okay.
And I think I did a lot of work when I was younger with kids, directed some theater programs, and I was a Girl Scout camp counselor.
Okay.
There's something about having that level of responsibility for kids that really sort of instills that others come before you.
Mm,
And I think that was a huge part of it. And not to mention, when I was at my Girl Scout job, um, midway through, they said, "Well, would you like to be promoted? We think we see leadership abilities in you. Would you like to be promoted to a lead camp counselor?" Which meant a whole more $2 a day because they were paying me. That was $34 a day plus room and board, which meant sleeping on a tarp
oh,
in the forest was my room. But yeah, it was such a great experience. And I took that promotion, and that was the first time I was responsible for adults in addition to kids. And I sort of found my footing there. But I remember thinking, I need to know what they think. I need to know what they want to do. I need to get their opinions. And I think just drawing upon past leaders that I had that I admired um, was really probably that first moment where I started putting people first.
I actually really like that answer simply because I don't think you know this, but my first job coming into America, I'm from Haiti and I
Mhm.
moved to the US in 2021. And my first job was at a startup that was helping kids with like motor and speech development. And I've been working here for over a year, and it's been you are put into a place where like those people can't take care of themselves. You have to care for them, take care of them, and like make sure they're, safe, alive, and happy. So that's very interesting
Right.
to me that, I
Yeah.
didn't even realize that, that's a whole practice of putting people first. So that's very
Hmm.
interesting. And, I don't know how you do it, but I can't sleep in the forest. Like I go to summer camp and it's essentially like I sleep in an RV when I do that. I couldn't be a Girl Scout. So props to you. Was it fun? Did you enjoy it or?
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. And I think that I think I just breathed. I mean, I'm coming from Los Angeles, right? And San
Mm,
Diego, where I grew up, into, Redwood Forest of Northern California. And there was so much oxygen because I'm sleeping outside and just bundled in a little
mhm.
sleeping bag around my head and um, on a tarp, and it was lovely. I've never gotten such great sleep. That was either because I was utterly exhausted from taking care of these girls all day, or it was from all of the wonderful fresh air I was breathing. But either way, it was an experience I
Good
will never
sleep.
forget. Yeah.
That's great. That's great to hear. You've mentioned since this young age having to work with adults, and working with kids and with adults. That's two different methods that you have to apply. How was your experience with like dealing with both sides? 'Cause I've worked with young people as well, and I've also had the opportunity to work with older people, and it's been very interesting to see how you have to switch your whole methods when you're working with both sides, and when it's combined as well, that's a whole different
Hmm.
method as well. So how did you navigate that? How was that for you?
Yeah, you know what I found is that adults want to have fun too. And I think that learning that idea of play with children and then still bringing that to adults. So I ran summer technology education programs. I was the chief operating officer for ID Tech for 22 years. I was there from startup to acquisition, and um, we were all in the business of children, and therefore we were all wanting to play too. So
Mm.
it's a and I think this is you too, Nova. If you came up through managing kids, right, you understand that we all want to have jobs that are fun.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
I am all about bringing some levity to work. So,
mm,
too many times we believe, like, there's a myth, right, that in order to be taken seriously, you need to be very serious, right? And
mhm, mhm.
it's an absolute myth. And I actually think it's the wrong way to go, because studies have showed that laughter is the fastest way to increase trust.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
And in fact, when you are funny and you bring a sense of humor to it, not only does that increase trust, but it increases your status in the
Mm,
eyes of other people. And I think that's because, it's like, oh, well, this person is being real with me. They're being authentic. And they're making me laugh, which is a gift.
mhm, mhm,
And so there is that dynamic there that I think is so wonderful. So I definitely believe in bringing some levity, lightness, your sense of humor, your authenticity into the world of business so that you can increase trust and have a better rapport, um, reciprocal trust and communication, build that human capital with each other, and communicate better, because a
mhm.
lot of business comes down to good communication too.
And I think I genuinely love this because I think that's one of the reasons why I was so I guess, attracted to having you on this podcast and also meeting you simply because I feel like we have a lot of similar values. As you know, I'm all about humanity, bringing humanity in business because, like you said, business seems so serious, like so you have to put a suit on all the time, when in reality, we're still human at the end. So I truly, truly love that this is an aspect that you bring to your business, that you bring to the companies that you work with, which brings me to you said you've been to EdTech, is that it? For
Hmm.
22 years.
Hmm.
22 years. That's a lot.
One company, 22 years. Yeah, it's virtually unheard of these days. Yeah.
It is. Honestly,
Yeah.
I don't know how you did it, but like what made you stay so long?
Oh,
What made you stay so long?
you're going to
Hmm.
love my answer, because I will
Okay.
say it to anybody who asks. It was the people. It
Oh,
was
okay.
hands down the people that kept me there. And one of the things that I loved so much was forming those relationships, right? Moving together, aligned toward a common goal, a great purpose. And then also in my role, I was able to really help people move up within the organization. And so when I left the company last year, I said, well, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And I
Mm-hmm,
want to practice in my zone of genius, right? Where,
mm-hmm,
and not to toot my own horn, but what I love to do and was extremely successful at, besides operating the programs that we ran, was growing leaders from within the company. And
mm-hmm,
so
mm-hmm,
that's why I'm on a mission to teach people some of those keys, because we had an award winning culture. People loved to work there, and they stayed for 15 years. Like, they were there a long time along with me, and then we would bring on new folks, and those folks would stay. And so everybody, just, it was really a place where once you came into the organization, very few people left.
wow. Wow. And that's unheard of. That's not something that you hear often. And I know you mentioned award-winning culture, but did the culture look like? What was
Mm.
happening? What are the things that you've implemented or the other staff members implemented to make the culture award-winning?
Oh my gosh. Well, culture is really made up of our patterns of behavior. So,
Mm-hmm.
how humans behave is really what leads to culture. And so, I would say it was a culture of trust. We had a lot of psychological safety, where meaning somebody could speak up and have their idea heard, have their voice heard, and that would be taken into consideration. There was no, and if you disagreed, here's the key: if you disagreed with the direction of something,
Mm-hmm.
I think I led the charge on this one because I disagreed quite a bit and spoke up quite a bit. But to not fear any sort of retribution in that process of saying, actually, I'm not sure that's the best idea. And here's why, right? And to be heard with that and to be okay. And it doesn't mean that my idea or somebody else's idea was always acted upon, but you had the freedom and the ability to speak up and be seen, heard, and valued. And so that's a lot of what I teach, is that at our core, we all want to be seen, heard, and valued. So I'm actually obsessed with how to make sure that happens in cultures. And then also how to motivate people to be engaged, because that is one of our biggest problems right now in corporate America, is that people are disengaged.
Mm.
There's so many studies saying people are less productive now. And what's happening is that's being blamed on remote work. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that entire 22 years, I managed my teams remotely.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
For 22 years, and
yeah,
the team was still engaged. There was an award-winning culture, and people
yeah,
rarely left, and
yeah.
it was remote.
So my team was remote. My operations
Wow.
team was
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
remote. We were the logistics team had a warehouse. The compliance team was in the main office. The customer service team was in the main office. Then everybody went remote once the pandemic hit. But before
Mm-hmm.
then, we were all sort of spread out. And so actually, my operations team, who all worked across the country, um,
Mm-hmm.
continually are HR surveys. We called them Be Heard surveys, scored really high, if not the highest in the company. So
Mm-hmm.
so I don't believe that in order to create a culture, you need to be a good culture, you need to be in person all the time. Do I think it's very beneficial if it's intentional? Absolutely, right? You can have great trainings, you can have great brainstorming sessions and solve big problems together in person, unlike you can over Zoom. But on a day to day, I mean, I'm sitting here in my slippers. It's lovely, you know, and you don't have to see that. But it's such a freedom, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we all want autonomy. That's the other thing
Mm-hmm.
that motivates humans, is having autonomy, which is freedom of choice. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the four T's. These are Dan Pink's four T's, right? Which is, we want choice over task,
Mm-hmm.
time, technique, and team.
Mm.
Right? Those are, when we have at least some of that, we feel good about the work we're doing. And so there was a lot of autonomy and a lot of ownership in our corporate culture. So if you had an idea, Nova, I'd be like, I love that idea. Why don't you spearhead it? And
Oh, okay.
why don't you pick a team of people to help you who are also interested in making sure that happens? And why don't you come up with a timeline that you think is reasonable? And you get to choose the tasks and the techniques that will take you there. However, I'm not just dumping this on you. I'm going to be a
Mm-hmm.
partner for you, and I'm going to help you along the way.
I feel like you're selling me to come work for you right now. I feel like I'm but one thing that I've noticed as you were speaking is that it's really important for leaders to understand human, right? You can't work with people without understanding them, right? As you were explaining, people want freedom, people want choice, the freedom to have choice, the freedom to to work wherever they want or whatever it is that people want, and it's important to take time or to spend time to understand not only human as a whole, but each individual people that you're working with, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And you nailed it. It really comes down to not only understanding people as a whole and why we do the things that we do, but then you nailed it with the individual.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
every single person you are given as a manager, as a leader, is a gift.
Mm.
They're not a burden to you. It's not like, oh, I have 7 direct reports. It's no, I have
Mm-hmm.
7 direct reports. This is amazing. They all are going to, like, we're going to work in tandem. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. And I have them to call upon, and they have me to call upon. They are a gift to you and the company. And so playing to their individual strengths is also a hallmark of partner leadership.
Mm, I like that. And one thing that I also noticed is as you were speaking, you mentioned that you call your HR surveys be heard. And I
Mm,
think one of the things that I've been learning a lot this year is language. The language we use has a huge impact in the outcome we want, right? As I was directing the mentorship program as one of the organizations I've been working with, we were calling mentors and mentees. We were calling mentors, mentees. But the whole point of the mentorship program was a co-mentorship, right? It was supposed to be
mm,
mentees help mentors and mentors help mentees.
right.
And one of the mentors mentioned, we can't keep calling mentors, and mentees. We're not going to have a partnership because we're already putting a power dynamic, right? We're already
So smart.
from the get go, there's a power dynamic. So like we can't keep calling each other this. So if the outcome is for both people to collaborate and help each other, why not call them partners? And I think it's the same thing with like the Be Heard survey. You want people to be heard, right? So like
Absolutely.
you already set up the tone for this outcome to be what you want, right?
Absolutely. Oh, words absolutely matter. You're
Mm-hmm.
absolutely right. So, yeah, I'm so curious how you got so wise, so young, Nova. I mean, you're 19 years old. So, where did all this wisdom come from?
Where do I give the credit? I would say it's the people that I've been around, right? It's the people that I've had the privilege of learning from. I'm a huge, huge advocate for learning. I don't stay at a job where I can't learn. And
Hmm.
that's like very, very fundamental for me. And the people that I love just genuinely want to learn. All the
Yeah.
people that I hang out with, all the people that I work for, I just always put myself in an environment where I can learn. And also being an immigrant, right? I come from a different culture, and from a young age, I've always been able to pinpoint what doesn't work and why it doesn't work. I guess it's culture plus the people that I surround myself with. I wouldn't say I'm the wisest or anything of that sort. I'm still in the learning process, but I generally love having conversations, and I'm glad that you brought a space for me to talk about the people that I love and that I surround myself with. Which brings me to my next question, which is something that I'm trying to create within the podcast and the community that I'm creating with this podcast, is to create this gratitude chain, right? I believe that we all have people that we're immensely grateful for. If you could shout out to
Hmm.
one person, not saying that the others didn't help or anything of that sort, but, but just one person that if you could shout out to them because let's say they've pushed you to higher heights or if they've helped you in some way. Like if you had someone to shout out to, who would it be and why?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I worked with so many people that yes, it seems like if I shout out one person, they'd be like, why didn't I get a shout out? Okay, well, I'm going to answer this in a very political way. Um, there's a collective, right?
Okay.
And there's a collective influence. And I was given the gift of autonomy and ownership from day one, from get
Mhm.
go. And I was able to hire, the people that I wanted to hire and build teams and build cultures and environments. And it was such a gift. But within that, those different people, everyone I brought in taught me something. I was
Mm,
actually listening to Stacey Abrams at an event, and she said, make space even for the people who scare you or for the
mm,
people that scare you the most, something along those lines. But we have to make space for them because even those people throughout my career trajectory who maybe I didn't agree with or was upset that they were brought into the organization and they caused maybe some negative impacts, those people taught me something
Mhm.
and I learned from them too. And just being a person that has had to go through all those experiences, that is learning. But again, everyone that I have come into contact with throughout life has given me a gift of learning something about myself, about them, about pushing myself a little bit harder, about the way they do it and the way that I could think about doing it, about other possibilities, other ideas. And I think the journey was great. It was, a long way from day one to 22 years when I left, right? I was a different person. But they're
Mhm.
all beautiful stages.
I love that. I love that, and also very political way of inserting it. But that was really good. I love that. The podcast is called People and Profit, so we cannot
Mhm.
not talk about profit.
Yes.
We're both believers in putting and prioritizing people, right?
Hmm.
But how costly can it be, right? It's a big process. It's a big thing. We want to prioritize people, but it's not free, right?
Hmm.
Can we talk a little bit about the process of prioritizing people? How does that look like? And then how costly it is that process?
All right. Well, I'm going to give you a quote from one of my friends, one of some of those people that were influential. His name is Rob Little, and I worked with him for years. And he said, people are investments, not
Mm,
expenses. That's how we
mm,
should be seeing people in corporate America. And when he said that, I was like, yes,
mm-hmm,
hello. That's exactly how we need to be viewing people in an organization. They are investments for you. And I would say some of the costs and some of the things that you should be investing in as a company is training,
mm-hmm,
professional development
mm-hmm,
outside of you and your team. Bring in a third party, but make sure you vet that third party first, right? With some
mm-hmm,
testimonials, call people up who've, taken the course or been with this consultant, whoever this person is, investing in time,
mm-hmm,
saying, I want to help you grow and develop. So I'm going to give you ownership and opportunities. Yes, it might take me longer. And that's the pull to not delegate, right? Oh, it's faster if I do it,
mm-hmm,
right? But
mm-hmm,
no, I want to give this opportunity away so that somebody else can upskill and learn and grow their portfolio and
mm-hmm,
their skill set, and then someday maybe get a promotion, or when
mm-hmm,
they do leave the company they can go get a new title, a bigger title somewhere
mm-hmm,
else.
mm-hmm.
So it's really in time. It's a big investment in time, and I will say all of the statistics that I know and have read is it's so much cheaper to actually invest in your people than it
Mm-hmm.
is to
To
not.
re- I'm glad that you mentioned that because I was doing research too, and it costs like 30% of an employee's salary to replace them. And I think that's people don't notice how, or people choose to ignore how expensive it is to lose an employee and replace them than to just invest in them. So it's
Mhm.
profitable to prioritize people over profit. A lot of companies want their employees to excel, right? To meet some types of quota or whatever it is that some type of goal. They want their employees to excel, but a lot of time they don't invest in the resources to help those employees excel. And I think,
Mhm.
and one example I have of that, and I'm not saying that this company that was their main problem, but there's big banks, right? I'm gonna try not to mention any names, right? They wanted their employee to be like those huge salespeople and do a lot of different things. But then because there was so much pressure and less or limited resources, they started doing things out of that are not really ethical because there's no
Mhm.
resources and pressure is just like too high. And I
Yeah.
guess you can't want mastery without giving resources to get that mastery. So I think that's another
Yeah.
investment to be made, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think with the situation I think you're talking about with a big bank is that there were unintended consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So they dangled a lot of carrots about like, if you make this goal, this number, then you get this money,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And the unintended consequence of that was unsavory behaviors in order
Mm-hmm.
to get that carrot. And so there's better ways to incentivize people than rewards and bonuses and monetary things. If you pay people from the get go what
Mm-hmm.
they need to the point where they're not thinking about money, money's not an issue,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you can really sort of like, that's like the baseline to begin to unlock
Mm-hmm.
discretionary effort in people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there were probably some unintended consequences with some sort of setup there.
Of course, of course. And I think that's also another consequence of not prioritizing people truly is that a lot of baggage comes with it. Not only like the turnover rates or the bad reputation, especially as we're growing or moving forward to like the future of work, right? People are more concerned about the company's reputation, right? Before going to work in that company. Like that's something I if I'm applying to a job, it's a lot of different criterias, right? If you're promoting a product that doesn't either align with my values or you're working in something that it's there's just so much more that people care about before
Hmm.
applying to a company. So like you have to have that culture, that reputation of okay, if I work there, I'm gonna have that safety that you've mentioned before, right? And I guess a lot of big companies do not think that far ahead, I would say, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think you're absolutely right. And you know what I love about your generation is that you are not afraid to put out into the universe, into intention, what
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
want, what you want out of life, the boundaries that you will draw, the yeses you will take, and the no's that you will say, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I think that more and more people, especially women my age, are following in the footsteps of Gen Z.
Mhm.
In
Mhm.
that, we're kind of waking up post COVID, saying,
Mhm.
"I want a life that fits what I want. Like, I don't want to
Mhm.
just work all the time. I want to derive meaning from both my personal life and work, right?
Mhm.
I want
Mhm.
work to mean something to me. And so I think that's what you're getting at there.
Mhm.
And one of
Mhm.
the best ways to make sure that people are feeling purpose, a sense of purpose. I mean, I don't think that we all need to be solving climate change and curing cancer in companies in order to
Mhm.
have a sense of purpose.
Mhm.
But people can feel that sense of purpose when they are appreciated and recognized for their contributions.
Mhm.
When
Mhm.
someone says, what you just did was really impactful and it helped in this way,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
is helping them see their purpose inside the company and therefore their connectedness.
Mhm.
So it definitely is a good, it's a piece of purpose.
Mhm. Mhm. Um, can you name one company that you think nails prioritizing people over profit? Can you think of one company or one thing that a company does that you
Mhm.
think is into the right direction?
So I love what Thrive stands for, Global, which is Ariana Huffington's company. I
Mm-hmm,
love the mission that they're on is to help people feel less stressed at work and to prioritize their health and wellness. And I'm going to make this leap. I have not done any research. I've not looked on Glassdoor, but I would take a wild guess that if that's something they're promoting, if that's something they teach other companies how to do, then they're
mm-hmm,
pretty good at doing it themselves.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I would agree. I would agree. Speaking of other companies, we cannot not talk about your company. And I know this, and I know this is something that you do. And can you tell us more about it? What is it that leading with joy, which I think is very, very clever. I'm a sucker for creativity and cleverness, so I really like that. Can you tell us about it?
Sure, sure. So, I am a corporate trainer, a leadership coach, and a business consultant. So, I take all of my experience that I have and I'm trying to gift it to other people in a way as an educator.
Mm-hmm.
I have something that's kind of my personal philosophy. It's called partner leadership. And I believe when we were talking before, you said, "How is that different from servant leadership?" And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a yes and, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a yes, it is part servant leadership, but it sort of takes it a step further into giving people practical tools and the how.
Mm-hmm.
How can you benefit and put your people first? I
Mm-hmm.
know you're a big fan of servant leadership too. I think the word servant, though,
Mm-hmm.
for me, it sort of puts people in, at least the way I take it, is that
Mm-hmm.
there's a little bit of martyrdom at play.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
says
Mm-hmm.
that as a leader, you need to sacrifice everything, just the word, right? When we talked
Mm-hmm.
about words matter, you need to
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice everything for your people to serve them and not serve yourself, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
partner leadership comes in and says, no, we're in this together, it's collaborative. And by me helping you grow as a leader in the company, it's dominoes of benefits,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? It spreads across the entire organization. We're going to be 21% more profitable. You know that statistic, right? With
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Gallup, just by
Mm-hmm.
engaging
Mm-hmm.
our employees. But also, I, as the leader, am going to get a lot of fulfillment out
Mm-hmm.
of growing more leaders. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not sacrificial
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because as leaders, we're also humans.
Mm-hmm.
We also we want to feel fulfilled at work too.
Mm-hmm.
And so by growing leaders, it's a great way to feel fulfilled at work. And so I teach executives the best way to grow leaders from within and the best way to deliver feedback and really make sure that people feel seen, heard, and valued.
I genuinely love this, and I think I'm gonna try using partner leadership instead of servant leadership because I think
Great.
that's key. I didn't even think about it that way, and I was listening to an episode this morning of a podcast which I totally forgot, but it was saying how yes, you have to serve your team, but not at the detriment or at the cost of yourself, and
Right.
that's one thing that one of my partners or my best friends have been teaching me is that you have to have yourself secured and you have to have yourself put together and all of that and your team, not just your team but you and your team, right? Because leaders are often we often want leaders, or like the way that the media or like on LinkedIn or like the way that we teach people is that leaders is like, okay, we're the savior, we're this,
Yes.
it's
A
so
hero riding in on our horse. Here we go.
that's how they teach it to us, right? But it's not true. You
No.
still have, there's no, it's not a spectrum. There's no like this end is like it's either you serve everybody or this end is like it's your end for yourself. That's
Yeah.
that's not how it is. There can't there a balance exists, right?
Right.
Where you serve both yourself and your team because at the end of the day you're also human, right?
That's absolutely it. And I believe that
Mm-hmm.
we can all make space for one another. We can all find joy collectively together in so many ways. So I'm all about my definition of joy
Mm-hmm.
is really about fulfillment. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a quote from Rolla May. He wrote Man's Search for Himself, which is like a book from the 50s, but it's still highly regarded
Mm-hmm.
by social scientists, etc. And it says, man has one and only one central need in life
Mm-hmm.
to fulfill its own potentialities.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, it's said a little old timey, right? But it means like
Mhm,
we're all supposed to we all want to. We're
mhm,
driven by
mhm,
trying to fulfill our potential.
mhm, mhm,
And that's
mhm,
what drives us forward. And so I fully believe that. And with fulfillment comes joy. It's like a direct line to joy, experiencing
mhm,
joy. once you're fulfilled, I have a friend of mine and she's like, it's kind of like the feeling of love. Once you
It's
feel,
true.
it's kind of close to that feeling. And so I agree with her.
I just thought about it and I was like, wait, you're onto something. I think I agree. I agree. And I think this question might be a little tricky in the sense of like it requires I would say imagination in a sense. Imagine you're like the CEO of like Amazon, Apple, big corporations, right? What is the first step you're
Mm,
taking today to make sure that your people are okay, but your profit also, you remain profitable? What is the
yeah.
first step you're taking?
So I'm pulling the executive team together and we're getting
Mm-hmm.
aligned. We're getting aligned with our leadership philosophy. We're getting aligned with our organizational health, our core values, our mission statement, and how we bring those to life with a strategic plan, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we're getting together, we're cascading that through the organization, but we're also taking the feedback that comes up the organization, right? We're allowing time for this is what the executive team is kind of pontificating, for a big word right there,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're thinking about this right now. So what do
Mm-hmm.
you think, right? We want to get your feedback because you probably know best, right? And
Mm-hmm.
bringing all that feedback back up to the executive team so that they can incorporate it and again then sort of revise and make
Mm-hmm.
sure everybody is aligned and on board. But the leadership philosophy is really key, because so I when I was at ID Tech,
Mm-hmm.
Howard Behar, who is the former president of Starbucks that took them international. There were two Howards. He was the international president of Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
He was on our board of directors. And the best advice he ever gave me was make sure everyone in your organization is speaking the same language,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you
Mm-hmm.
start with that executive team and then you go to your VPs and your directors, right? And you get that same leadership philosophy, that same alignment, right? And then you go to the next level and the next level and you make sure the entire organization understands 100% how we behave,
Mm-hmm.
because those behaviors are what set up the patterns and those patterns of behavior make up the culture.
Mm, that is so powerful. I'm like, I feel like the whole point of the podcast is to educate others as well. And I feel like I'm getting the most education. I'm sitting and I'm like, I wish I could write notes. So I really, really, really enjoy this. Um, Making money is like, I would say, the whole goal of a for-profit
Sure,
company, right?
I
Making
get it.
money. That's how do we do that, right? How do we do that in the sense of we have to put a lot of money and we have to invest, right? We have to invest in people, we have to invest in resources, we also have to take care of like our product or service or offerings.
Hmm.
How can we balance? Because as I was doing research for the podcast, I was like, why am I not calling it people first or profit second, or why am I not calling it people over profit, and
Hmm.
why is my focus people and profit, right? Because
Yes,
I believe that the balance exists, not can, but exist, right? How do we
absolutely.
even do that? Because a lot of executives or a lot of business leaders, let's say entrepreneurs, the main goal is make money, make money, make money now, make money. How can we make
Hmm.
money? What to do to make money? But then now a lot of people are coming at us and like, all right, but your people, then it's like a whole different, you have too much to think about now. But like, how do we
Yeah,
even do that? Mm-hmm.
yeah. Well, I love how you say people first because people
Mm-hmm.
are foundational, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're your biggest asset in
Mm-hmm.
your company. You have all these activities in your strategic plan. They're fantastic. Look at all those wonderful ideas, the new thing you're going to launch, the new city you're going to go to, the new product that's going to be added. All of those goals are fantastic. But if your people are not fully engaged, this is why Gallup has that study that is saying that
Mm-hmm.
if you engage your people and do nothing else but that, your profits
Mm-hmm.
increase 21% because
1%. Mm-hmm.
all of those activities that you have planned in your strategic plan, they're going to go off so much better with people who want to work hard for you, with
Mhm.
people who want to stay there and be loyal to you and not be job hunting on the side,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? They're
Mhm.
giving you all their time and all their hours that they do during the workday, because you're taking care of them, because you're invested in them, because you believe in them, because you make work a fun place to be. You bring that sense of humor and that lightness and levity, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
because you are open to hearing them and you're constantly reinforcing that you see them,
Mhm. Mhm.
you hear them, and you value them for their
Mhm.
contribution.
Mhm.
That's when people work hard to do all of those tasks and activities that you have outlined in your strategic plan. Without that, a lot of those are going to fall short. A lot of those activities are going to fail. And you'll say, oh, why? And you'll play this person's fault, or it was just a bad idea, right?
Mhm.
When the
Mhm.
truth is, anything is possible with innovative people, right?
Mhm.
Anything is possible with engaged people.
Mhm. Because at the end of the day, people bring profit. That's the
That's
whole
right.
truth. That's I really, really enjoyed this. And I know as we're coming to an end, I'm a big music fan. I'm a I don't like I do not spend a minute without listening to music. If I'm not listening to music, I'm thinking about music. So I wanted to ask you if there's one song that you really, really enjoy that I don't know. It's your either your favorite song or a song that has been stuck into your head for quite some time. To share it with us, and then we're gonna challenge the next guest to listen to it and then to judge it, to let us know if they like it, and then we're gonna continue this chain throughout the podcast. And I'm thinking of also building a playlist to share the songs with our community. So, what's your
Okay.
one song?
Well, you got me at an interesting moment because my daughter, who's 14, a Gen
Okay.
Z, right? She listens to various songs at various times, and she was just playing her, music, and I was like, "What's that? That's a cool song. Never heard of this band before in my life." So it's the Grimes, and the song is
Okay.
Oblivion.
Oh, I think I know. Okay.
Do you know the
Okay.
song?
I think so. It seems very familiar. I'm gonna look it
It's
up right
it's
now.
kind of like ethereal with a beat and like a beautiful voice like tacked in, and so I love it. It's great. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to share it with the audience, and then we'll see if you have people who love it as well. And I'm genuinely very, very happy and grateful that you took the time to come and talk to me for like 45 minutes, which is a lot. This is the most I've talked to, so I'm very, very happy. And very grateful. If there's one last word of wisdom or anything of that sort you would like to share with the audience,
All
please.
right. Well, just don't take it so seriously. Bring your full true self to every conversation and just let it flow.
Love. I absolutely love this. Thank you so much, Joy. Thank you. It's been amazing. I genuinely enjoyed this, and I hope our audience also enjoys this. At some point of the conversation, I forgot that we were recording simply because I was so engaged. So I truly, truly enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
I love that. You're absolutely welcome. It was a pleasure to be here, Nova. And I cannot wait to see all the amazing things that you do in life. You've got such a strong foundation, and I just think you're ready to go. And whoever picks you up, and if you do choose to go into corporate America, you will make them so happy.
Thank you. Thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you. Thank you so much, Joy.